Welcome to Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft, the founder and CEO of Judith Heft and Associates Financial and Lifestyle Concierge. This year, they're celebrating 26 years in business. In every episode, Judy interviews professionals who help others successfully manage their financial lives. You can find this show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Judy is the author of 2 books, How to Be Smart, Successful, and Organized with Your Money for a Better Today and Tomorrow, and her latest book, Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles, How to Successfully Manage Money in Every Decade of Life. You can read chapters of her books and catch prior episodes of this show at www.judithheft.com. Now here's the host of Mastering Your Financial Life, Judy Heft.
Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to our 30th episode of Mastering Your Financial Life. And today I'm thrilled to be here with Mike Hymes. Michael is a vice president and financial advisor at Shufro. They're an independent RIA, a registered investment advisory firm. And what that means is that they have fiduciary responsibility to their clients, which is a wonderful designation to have. So they work with high net worth individuals on investment management and financial planning. And Shufro is similar to a small family office where they really try to encompass everything and handle all of their clients' needs, whatever they can. So today I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for being my 30th guest.
I'm honored, Judy. It's great to see you. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. It's my pleasure. So I just, we're going to talk about a few things about estate planning and financial planning. It kind of all goes together. You have to have a good estate plan before you can figure out your financial plan. So right. How does your firm handle that with their clients?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a critical piece of the puzzle. And over the past couple of years, estate planning has become a major priority for obvious reasons, given the pandemic. It's really sped people up to get their documents, to get an estate plan in place. That's kind of where we come in, right? And what we do first, when we talk about estate planning at Shufro, what that means is starting with a balance sheet. That's first and foremost. We have to understand what are the assets, what are the liabilities, and not just what are the values and how much are you worth, and because we typically deal with high net worth individuals, but it's also trying to understand how are things titled. So if there's a joint asset, whether it's with us or with another advisor, or maybe a non-investment asset, is it joint with rights of survivorship or tenants in common? How is it really titled? We really want to dive into that, Judy, because it allows us to understand how assets pass at death, and also gives us a feel for the estate tax exposure. So we really start with the balance sheet. We dive deep into it. If clients have private investments, like they've invested in a friend's business or they have their own business, we really want to understand what type of entity is that? C, S Corp, LLC, LPs. That's really important from the liability perspective, but also understanding the estate exposure, 1202 possibilities and things like that. So we start with the balance sheet, understand everything that's there. And then we always tell our clients, you need an estate plan. That's super, super important. And clients ask us, well, what is an estate plan? Well, it's having the basic estate documents, wills, powers of attorney, guardian documents, maybe revocable trusts, whatever it may be. And working with an estate attorney who really fits that client's needs. I really like to look for attorneys who are, maybe they focus on entrepreneurs and we have entrepreneur clients, or an attorney is great with physicians and they understand the liability exposure. So we really try to match the attorneys with our clients the best way that we can, because I'm not an attorney and we don't have in-house attorneys. And that's intentional because it allows us to remain objective. So I think we talk to clients about get your estate plan. And usually they say, well, I haven't done my documents in 20 years, or oh man, I don't even have documents. Why does this matter? So it's a great opportunity for us to educate. We have the balance sheet. We'll typically make the introduction to the estate attorney as well. I have a pretty extensive network in the tri-state area. So I love making those connections, love working with these individuals. And I know we're going to talk a little bit later on how we collaborate effectively. So we get the balance sheet. We talk about what the importance of an estate plan is, why it matters, introduce them to the attorney. Then they actually meet with the attorney to do all of the documents. And we typically send that balance sheet to the attorney as well, with the client's approval, of course, so that the attorney really understands everything. And like I said, we really dive deep into that titling. And that's important because the attorney appreciates the detail that we can provide. We call it our attorney-friendly balance sheet. And this matters, Judy, because think about it. If we weren't involved and a client went to meet with the trust and estates attorney to do an estate plan, the attorney will have a questionnaire on assets and liabilities. The danger is the client doesn't fully understand the titling of things. They might write Shufro Rose $5 million, and we may be managing $5 million, but we're not a custodian, number one. And number two, what is that $5 million? Is that an IRA? Is that a revocable trust? Is that a joint account? And that's important for the attorney to know, to understand what the documents are going to do. So I find that it starts with the balance sheet, and I find this to be really effective for our clients. And Judy, after a few months, when all the documents are completed, the attorney usually sends us a memo that says, okay, assets need to be titled this way, beneficiaries should be this, and the split of assets should be this. And then we actually look to implement it. So it's not just talk to an attorney. We like to collaborate and quarterback the process the best that we can. So that's how we really define the estate planning practice.
Well, that's great information. You really are do a whole thorough investigative report for the client. So how do you come up with the balance sheet numbers? Because I know that in our line of work, we find that so many people have no idea what their numbers are. They don't know where to begin. As far as their personal bookkeeping, they don't have personal bookkeeping. They don't think it's important. They figure, I look at my bank balance, I know what I have, but that's really not the best way to do it, because as you know, and I know, banks make mistakes all the time. So do credit card companies. So how do you work with that? How do you help them come up with their balance sheet?
Yeah, great question. We always start with the liquid assets first. So the investment assets. And then the bottom half of the balance sheet is a little bit harder for those values, right? So we start with the top half. Obviously, any accounts that we're managing, we know those values, right, on a daily basis. And then if clients have other advisors, which is certainly common for us in certain instances, as well as, bank accounts, we actually have them link their accounts to our financial planning software. So that way the money flows, the data flows in regularly. And that's nice because that way I don't have to bug the client. Hey, what's the balance in this bank account? And the clients like it too, because they can see everything there. Mm-hmm. So that'll pull in real-time data for brokerage accounts, 401ks, IRAs, bank accounts. But when you get to the bottom half, Judy, I agree with you. It gets a little more complicated, right? If they own a closely held business, what's the value of that? Well, who knows? I mean, really, if it's privately held, it's whatever someone would pay for it if it ever was going to be sold. So we always like to ask clients, just give us a ballpark, give us a multiple of EBITDA or something. Let's just go off of that. Doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, are we dealing with a $2 million close sale business or a $200 million business? Just get it close enough. That's fine with us. If clients have private investments, so they've invested in, a friend's business or angel investing or other kind of like limited partner type investing, we'll look for a K1 to get an ending capital balance, or sometimes we'll just ask them, what was your contribution amount? It's not perfect, and we know that, but we want to just make sure that all these things are accounted for, because if the attorney says, hey, Judy, you need to title all of your assets this way, that's going to include some of these non-investment assets as well.
That sounds like you do a lot of forensic looking back and figuring stuff out. I want to call it forensic bookkeeping, but forensic accounting, forensic, figuring out, really getting into the weeds, into the nitty gritty, so that you can help your clients with a financial plan. I love that. And so what's really your differentiator working with your clients?
Yeah, I like to think that we have three differentiators. I moved to New York City about 3.5 years ago from the Midwest, and I interviewed at quite a few firms and got to know a lot of different people in the area. And I landed in Shufro Rose because the number one, company's been around for over 80 years. And I think that's absolutely a differentiator for us. Company's been through all kinds of market cycles. Clients they find that comforting to know that Shufro Rose has been around for so long. They've been through it all. And that we've evolved and innovated throughout the years to keep up, right? And to be the best that we can be. But what that also does is it allows us to dive deep into family and generational planning. And I think this is really interesting because this is an area that a lot of advisors maybe don't like to go into because it's kind of the soft skills, right? You're talking about having maybe a family meeting. Maybe you have a client who is in their 80s and has a taxable estate and is going to create all kinds of trusts for the surviving spouse or for the kids, GST, non-GST. This can be very confusing. And so sometimes we can sit down with the family and talk to them about and educate them about how these trusts are going to work and why mom and dad set up these trusts. And sometimes the clients want the numbers on there to really prepare them, and sometimes they don't. That's fine. We'll follow their lead. So it gives us kind of a unique background and experience on generational planning. It's also just kind of neat, Judy. I had a meeting the other day with a client who's around 60 years old, and his grandfather was a client of our firm's. So you just see, and we're working with his 30-year-old son. And
love that.
So, right. So it's really fun to kind of have that family connection. And of course, you've got the confidential walls up between all the parties, but it allows us to really get to know everybody. So I think number one, just how long we've been around and very established. I think number two for differentiator is our kind of portfolio construction. We actually do individual security selection, and this is pretty unique. We still have ETFs and mutual funds, but we look to implement a sleeve in the portfolio for individual securities. And that's kind of a testament to the firm and the legacy of the firm as this investment management shop for so many years. It's really a testament to the partners and their expertise who actually make the decisions and do the analysis on what companies that we want to invest in. And I think clients really appreciate it because it shows that we're a bit more active. Of course, we're thinking about asset allocation, diversification as well. But I think that level of expertise for some more complex clients or some more sophisticated clients, they're looking for that. They don't want to just be in pure funds. They want to really pick someone who really knows how to invest those things. So I would say that's our second differentiator. And for our third, you kind of hit on this in the beginning, Judy, but being an RIA, registered investment advisor, gives us that fiduciary duty, but we're also an independent RIA. So there are some RIAs that have their own funds. That's not the case for us. And we also don't have in-house attorneys or in-house tax folks or in-house insurance folks, and that's intentional because that allows us to be fully objective. We're not a custodian either. So I think we're kind of separated from so many things, and it allows to just build that trust over time with clients. Because if I'm going to talk to a client about life insurance, for example, they know I'm not going to sell the policy. So, and I have to act in their best interest. So if I'm thinking, okay, this kind of insurance might make sense for you, this is something to think about, they'll appreciate that. And then I can pull in an insurance broker or someone who can come in and kind of help go through that analysis and actually place the policy. So I would say those are our three differentiators.
Well, that's great. That's great information. Yeah, I love the second generation part of it because we work too with some clients in the second generation. And yes, there's confidentiality agreements in place, but it still gives us as advisors more of an insider look at what's going on and can advise differently. Absolutely. So that's really helpful to know those things. So let's take a little break here, Mike, and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more. Thanks.
Sounds good.
Hey there. I just want to tell you a little bit about my new book that just came out called Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles. And here it is. It's how to successfully manage your money in every decade of life. I co-authored this with my CFO, Liz Levy. And together we created this manual that's going to help you through every stage of life. We talk about having a baby. We talk about young adulthood, pre-retirement, what to do when you're at that age of retirement, if you're contemplating divorce, do you need an estate plan? We cover all of these, each subject in a different chapter. And I really think that you're going to find this so helpful because at the end of every chapter, we have checklists that you can look at and you can use, and they can be a guide for you. So this is a wonderful manual that we've created. It's available on Amazon. You can also find it on our website at judithheft.com/book. And we're here for you. If you need anything, reach out. I hope you enjoy the book. Here's another picture of it, just so you know what's going on. Here it is. And I'm really proud of it. It's my second book. And I'd love to have you read it and give me your feedback. Judy Heft, judithheft.com, financial and lifestyle concierge, celebrating 26 years in business. And over the years, I've learned so much. And what I've been trying to do is impart a little bit of this knowledge to you so I can help all of you become as financially organized as I am. And we're back with Mike. Thank you. So Mike, I just wanted to ask you too. So I know that, you touched on it a little bit talking about the insurance piece, how you collaborate with other people. I think that's a really great thing that you don't sell insurance because that kind of turns off people sometimes because maybe you don't have the best interest at heart. So that's great that you don't do that yourself. So what other professionals do you collaborate with and how do you collaborate with them? How does that work?
That's a great point. And because we don't have these things in-house, it requires a really good network. So, I've kind of been out and about networking, getting to know people, especially being newer to New York City. And I'm a member of the Estate Planning Council in New York City. So I've met so many folks there. So we'll deal with insurance brokers, valuations, experts and specialists. If there's wealth transfer involved, sale of the business, things like that. We'll deal with sometimes trust companies if we need corporate trustee or some kind of trust type work. We'll deal with mortgage folks. We'll deal with estate attorneys, obviously, CPAs. I mean, you name it. There's a whole gamut, right? Because typically, Judy, the clients are going to come to us with any question related to their financial picture, maybe related to their business. Sometimes we can help them, sometimes we can't, but we're really expected to find an answer for them, whether it's coming from us or somebody else. So it's having a great network that's super important. And I always like to use the analogy that we're kind of like the primary care physician, right? Mm-hmm. If you're not feeling well and it's not an emergency, you might write to your PCP. Hey, doc, my head's hurting. This is kind of strange. What do you think? Right? And the doctor might think, okay, maybe there's something going on. If they think it's serious, maybe we'll do some testing and they'll get you introduced to a specialist. Well, that specialist is the estate attorney or is the CPA. And I think this example is very tangible for clients to understand, especially in like our pitch process. We really like to go through this with them. And I always like to say too, that we're all in the same hospital. Like we all work for the same group. So they're just upstairs and we all want what's right for the client. So I think that A, you've got to have a great network, and B, you have to know how to work really well together. And what's super important is making sure that you stay in your lanes too, Judy. I think that that's really important because I may know stuff about estate planning or insurance planning, but I can't provide legal advice and I can't sell insurance. But I can be in a position where I can educate and support. And sometimes I have more information than the attorney, and the attorney is going to rely on me for that, or I can run projections or whatever. So it's making sure that we're not stepping on each other's toes. No one knows more than anybody else. Everyone just has their specialty. They come in, and at the end of the day, we're just trying to do what's right for the client.
I think it's great. And it's so important to have a good team in place for the clients. They really need to know that, this person does this person handles that, and I can go to whoever. But if I have a question, I can go back to somebody else. So that's, the most important thing is just working all together in unison to be there to support our clients. So that's great. So how can people find you?
Yeah, well, listen, I think LinkedIn is probably where you're going to want to look for me. I do post periodically. I do speak on different panels. I'm hoping to be on another podcast here in the next few weeks. So LinkedIn is a great spot. My email address too is just mhymes, my last name, at shufrorose.com. Feel free to reach out. Whether you're a professional listening to this, looking for advisors or looking to grow your network, or you're a prospect or someone who's looking for a financial advisor, please reach out to us. We always like to start with just an initial consult, just like an attorney would. Judy, you probably would too, with a prospect for your business. And it's not just, hey, how much money do you have? And let's get to work. We really want to understand, what are you looking for? Are we the right fit? There's certain areas that we like to specialize in. And I like to think of, if you're going through some kind of life event, you're starting a family, maybe someone passed away and things have to be restructured. Maybe there's a divorce, selling a business, or you're changing jobs and you're like, what the heck is 83B election? I don't understand stock options. That's typically, Judy, when we find the business to come in, because its clients are looking for that support, whether it's with their current advisor who can't provide those expertise, or they don't have an advisor at all. So I always tell clients, hey, when do I need a financial advisor? Well, when you're probably going through some of these events, or you need professional management for the assets that you have, or you don't have the time and you need just someone to take care of things for you. So that's kind of a good fit for us. But LinkedIn is a great spot, as well as my email. As I mentioned, I'm obviously happy to connect with anyone. Again, whether it's a prospective client, someone who just wants to meet and chat, grab a coffee, or even another professional that's looking to grow their network.
Oh, that's great, Michael. Thank you so much. This was really helpful information. I'm sure that our listeners learned a lot from listening to you. I know I did from talking to you. So thanks for being my guest. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Great,
Thanks,
Judy.
Mike.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. Take care.
You've been listening to Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, and sharing this show with others. You can read chapters of Judy's books and catch prior episodes of Mastering Your Financial Life at www.judithheft.com.